The name Villainizer came from my nickname, actually. People always used to call me Rav. They said that the only people that smoke nowadays in movies are Ravs. And the guy goes, "What's Ravs?" And they go, "Russians, Arabs, and villains." And I'm like, "Well, my name's Rob, and I'm an Arab. I guess I'm a villain. So I guess I could be a Rav, too." I started calling myself Rav, and next thing you know, I was like, well, with villains, let's try to find an original band name that hasn't been taken. Well, he's a womanizer and a villain. Let's call him a Villainizer. The whole concept started from basically having villains was the main thing. I mean, that's why the first EP was just 5 main characters that were all different types of villains. And then as it expanded, well, threw in the Arab, and next thing you know, we started working on this terrorism bit. The main idea was to come up with something that offended people, and I think terrorism about does it. The meaning behind most of the terrorist motifs at first was to be offensive, but eventually I started to dig in deeper into the meaning of each song that I wrote and try to create a stereotype. And the whole idea was to make a stereotype about Arabs and play on it. But I felt like it was necessary to take all these different songs and try to play on these stereotypes. And the whole idea was anti-racism through racism. To just be as blunt and blatantly racist as possible, so that people can be like, whoa, 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 and you'd be like, well, like, this shit actually happens. I'd be like, yeah, I guess you got a point. And I found from that point onwards, it just became its own thing, that instead of creating the sympathetic aspect of anything, I wrote the sadistic aspect of every stereotype I could. I think all my inspiration kind of comes from all over the map. Most of my song ideas came from movies, books. There's a book I read called Real Bad Arabs. In the back of the book had an index, and it was like literally 2 pages of 6-point font, 3 columns of racial slurs for Arabs. I had a fucking field day the second I saw that. I was like, there's so many fucking racial slurs for Arabs. I could just straight up write a song that's just all racial slurs and it would all rhyme. And I did that. And that was that Terraplane song. And it's like, my biggest inspiration comes from outside of the metal world. There's never been one message I try to portray with Villainizer. I mean, like, any music I've ever done, it's never just one message. And I don't know, if I brought it down to one message, it would basically be have fun. You know, I strictly believe that you gotta enjoy your life, because, fuck, I mean, if you're not happy while you're living, then what's the fucking point of living? But there's no one message that I try to portray. Every song is a different message. Half the time there isn't even a message, it was just a good idea. You know, that every time I come up with a song about a villain, it was just a funny idea for a comic book character that I get some friends to draw pictures, bring it out, and next thing you know, I'm singing a song in a dress on stage. Not because I'm trying to portray a message, but because it was just a funny idea. The songwriting process for Villainizer is pretty fucking chaotic. I mean, like, half of the songs that you hear on that album were written when I was like 14, 15. Usually it starts with humor. That's all it is. Come up with a title. The title's the first thing I come up with before I write a song. You know, on this new upcoming release, you know, I have a song called Metal Tsunami. It's a funny idea from a couple friends. And then next thing I know is I get a cool melody that I write. And that one melody turns into a whole structure of riffs. And then that, once I add the lyrics, turns into the song Metal Tsunami. And you know, that's majority of the time, that's the way the songwriting works. It always starts with the title. I think as far as the future goals for Villainizer goes, keep putting out albums. Keep trying to piss people off. We'll see how far we can go. I might even mail this into the president. We'll see.